What's up guys, Groovy Guitar Dude here with a beginner guitar tutorial for Somebody's Problem by Morgan Wallen. If this video helps you out, hit that like and subscribe button and let me know down in the comments below what are the songs by Morgan Wallen that you want to learn on guitar. Guys, the first thing that you want to know to play Somebody's Problem on guitar is that in order to get rid of some bar chords and keep this song as beginner friendly as possible, we're going to capo up to 3rd fret. And if you don't have a capo, I'll have a link to get this capo for free right up here. The next thing that you want to know to play Somebody's Problem on guitar is the structure of this song. We're going to start with a verse, then go to pre-chorus, then chorus, then verse, pre-chorus, chorus again. Then we'll have a short bridge, and we're gonna finish up the song with one last chorus. And the last thing that you wanna know before we dive into Somebody's Problem is the 6 chords that we need to play this song. The first one is D. The next one is D over C sharp. The next one is B minor 7. The next one is A. The next one is G. And the last one is E minor 7. And I'll have chord charts for all of those in the pinned comment below for those of you who need them. And with all that in mind, guys, let's dive into Somebody's Problem. Man, I'm a sucker for a really good country finger-picking song, and this is a great example of one. It's a beautiful new song from Morgan Wallen, and I'm so stoked to share it with you guys. So this is actually one of those songs that sounds a lot harder to play than it actually is. It's actually fairly beginner-friendly. All we're going to have is a couple different chord progressions and a pretty simple finger-picking pattern that's going to repeat through the whole song. So this is actually a really good intro to fingerpicking. If you've never done any fingerpicking before, this is actually a pretty good place to start because it's fairly beginner friendly. So with that in mind, one thing that we need to take a look at real quick before we do these fingerpicking patterns is we need to know what bass notes are. And if you don't know what a bass note is, all it is the lowest note of whatever chord we're playing. So here's a quick little rundown of all the chords that we're using in this song and the bass notes that are going to go with them. So we'll start with our D chord. For our D chord, our open D string is going to be the bass note. For our D over C sharp, our A string 4th fret will be the bass note. For our B minor 7, our A string 2nd fret will be the bass note. For our A chord, our open A string will be the bass note. For our G chord, our 3rd low E will be the bass note. And lastly, for our E minor 7, our open low E will be the bass note. And those are all the bass notes that you need to know for this song. That's really important for the picking patterns we're going to be using for this song. It'll help a lot if you memorize those or just write them down so that you can remember what they are. But we will be referencing back to that throughout this whole entire lesson. So with that out of the way, let's dive into the song. The first thing that we hear in this song is the verse. And for the verse, we have a very simple chord progression and a pretty easy picking pattern to go along with it. So first, let's take a look at that chord progression. The chord progression for our verses is going to be D, D over C sharp, B minor 7, and then back to D over C sharp. Just about like that, repeated through all of our verses. And again, guys, we'll have a finger picking pattern to go along with this. And this finger picking pattern I'm going to show you is actually going to be the finger picking pattern that we're going to be using for most of the song. That was kind of a tongue twister. I kind of almost got tripped up there. But what we're going to be doing is this. We're going to use our D chord as our example here. For each chord, we're going to pick bass note, G, B, and then back to G. Or a little closer to full speed. Bass note G, B, G. Just about like that is what we're going to be playing for each chord. Again, remembering those bass notes is super important here because we will be using that through the entire song for this picking pattern. So let's do a little walkthrough of what that picking pattern is going to look like when we plug it into our verse chord progression, chord by chord. We'll start with our D chord here. We're going to go bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G. Again, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G. Just about like that. That's kind of funny. It sounds like I'm like Italian or something and saying something interesting in Italian because just the way that sounds with the GBG for some reason. But anyways, guys, that's about what that picking pattern is going to look like. And that's pretty close to full speed too. So with that in mind, again, chord progression, D, D over C sharp, B minor 7, D over C sharp. And then we're going to have bass note, G, B, and G picked through for each chord. And that's going to be our verse chord progression with our verse picking pattern. So with that in mind, guys, I'm going to play through this verse chord progression and picking pattern slowly a couple of times so that you can make sure you have all the right stuff in all the right places. And then I'll play through it a couple of times full speed so that you can match it up with the speed of the song. So slowly a couple of times will look about like this. And a couple of times full speed through the chord progression and picking pattern that's going to repeat through all of the verses on Somebody's Problem will look about like this. And from there, guys, we're into what's being played for our pre-choruses. Our pre-choruses are super, super easy. All we're going to have is a very simple short chord progression, and then we're going to have a variation of that same picking pattern that we just used. So first, let's take a look at our chord progression for pre-choruses. Our pre-chorus chord progression is just going to be G and A. Just that simple 2-chord progression. And then what we're going to do for our picking pattern is we're just going to play that same exact picking pattern that we played for our verses, but we're going to repeat it twice. So for each chord, we're going to play through that picking pattern 2 times. So a real quick little walkthrough of what that's going to look like. We'll start with our G chord. We're going to go bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, and then A, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, just like that. And we're just going to play through that once, and that will take us into our choruses. So pretty short, pretty straightforward. If you got that picking pattern down from the verses already, this is going to be no problem at all. All you're doing is just plugging it into these 2 new chords. So guys, I'm not going to play through this one slowly because it's really, really short and simple, but a couple of times through that chord progression and that picking pattern that's going to play through just once on the pre-choruses will look about like this. And from there, guys, we're into what's being played for our choruses. For our choruses, we're going to have what looks like a long and intimidating chord progression, but I promise it's not as difficult as it seems. We'll get there in just a minute. And then we're going to have that same exact picking pattern that we used for our verses. We're going to use the same exact picking pattern for our choruses as well. So that's nice because all we have to focus on new in this is just our chorus chord progression. So let's take a look at that chord progression. We're going to start by going with a D, B minor 7, E minor 7, and A. And that's that top line there. We're going to repeat that top line twice, and then we'll go on to the next line, which is B minor 7, A, G, E minor 7, and then we're going to do E minor 7 again, and then A to take us out of the chorus. And that is just going to play all the way through once for each chorus, just like that. So I know that might look intimidating, but it really is not too terribly bad. It's kind of just a lot to remember. So I would recommend taking a screenshot of this if you're on your phone, or even just taking some notes on a notepad. I do that all the time for songs like this. So with that in mind, again, we're going to be using the same exact picking pattern that we use for our verses. So same thing here, bass note, G, B, G for each chord, just like that. So let's walk through this chord by chord and make sure we got all the right stuff in all the right places. So we'll start with our D chord here. We're going to go bass, G, B, G. Then we'll go to B minor 7, bass, G, B, G, E minor 7, bass, G, B, G, A, bass, G, B, G. That's that top line. We're going to repeat that twice. So again, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G, bass, G, B, G. Just like that. And then we're on to our second line. We're going to start that one with a B minor. Same thing here. We'll go bass, G, B, G, A, bass, G, B, G, G, bass, G, B, G, E minor 7, bass, G, B, G. Then we're on to that very last line, E minor 7 again, bass, G, B, G, and A, bass, G, B, G. Just like that. And that is going to play through once all the way through each chorus of this song. Now, obviously, it's a little bit quicker than that. We're doing kind of a slow walk through to make sure you guys have all the right stuff in all the right places. But pretty straightforward. Really, the trickiest part about that song is going to be getting that picking pattern down and getting the feel of that, which it's, again, still a fairly beginner-friendly picking pattern. But also just memorizing which chords go where, because this is kind of a lot of moving parts, and none of these chords are super terribly difficult. There's no bar chords or anything like that in here, but it is just kind of a lot to remember. So again, take notes, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do to make sure you remember what order these chords go in. So with that in mind, guys, again, same thing here. I'm going to do a slow playthrough of this so that you can make sure you have all the right stuff in all the right places. And I'm going to play through it once all the way full speed so that you can match it up with the speed of the song. So slowly once through our chord progression and picking pattern, it's going to play through our chorus on Somebody's Problem will look about like this. And guys, again, that's just going to play through once for each chorus, but a couple of times through the chorus chord progression and picking pattern, just so that you guys can jam along with me, will look about like this full speed. And guys, finally, that's going to bring us to the last part of the song, the bridge. And this is also the easiest part of the song because we just have a very simple chord progression and a very simple strum pattern. So for the bridge, our chord progression is just going to be the same as our pre-chorus chord progression, which was G and A. Just like that, same as our pre-chorus. What we're going to be doing for our strum pattern for each one of those chords is going to be down, down, up, down, up, twice for each of those two chords. So a little walkthrough will look about like this. We got our G chord. We're going to go down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, A, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, just like that, and that is going to take us into the last chorus of the song. We're literally just going to play through that once. It's literally like a 5-second clip of the song. It's super short and simple. But guys, a couple of times through that simple chord progression and strum pattern that's going to play through once on the bridge will look about like this without me talking. And guys, that is everything that you need to know to play Somebody's Problem on guitar. As always, if you have any questions, you can hit me up in the comments down below. I'm usually pretty quick getting back to those. And again, if this video helped you out, hit that subscribe button. I have about 800 other guitar and ukulele lessons on this channel, and I usually try to post at least 3 to 5 new lessons every single week. So if you're learning guitar or ukulele, there could not be a more perfect channel for you to check out. If you want to see what songs I'm jamming on, where I'm traveling right now, or pictures of my dog, you can hit up my Instagram at @thegroovyguitardude. Link for that will be in the description below. And lastly, guys, if you want to support the channel and get your name in the credits at the end of each new guitar tutorial, you can hit up my Patreon at patreon.com/thegroovyguitardude. Link for that will be in the description below as well. Guys, I absolutely love country finger picking songs like this one. This one kind of reminds me of the feel of Making Memories of Us by Keith Urban, which was one of the first kind of finger picking kind of songs that I ever learned how to play on guitar. It's a country song, and if you guys know, if you've been on the channel for a while, I'm a huge fan of Keith Urban. So this song kind of reminds me of the feel of that picking wise. It's a really beautiful song, really beautiful picking part, and it's also very beginner friendly. There's no bar chords in this or anything like that. It does have that finger picking pattern, which may be new to some of you beginners out there, but the cool thing is that it's a really beginner friendly finger picking pattern, and because there's no bar chords in this, it's also pretty easy chord progressions to keep up with as well. So even if you've never done finger picking or anything like that before yet in your guitar journey, this is actually a great place to start because it is fairly beginner friendly. And it's just a super beautiful song. So guys, I had a lot of fun learning this song. I hope you guys have a lot of fun learning it as well, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see y'all soon.